If you've been flying for any amount of time longer than about 5 minutes, then you've experienced what it feels like to head to the airfield with one of these, only to turn it into one of these. So what do you do when that happens? Well, you sift through the wreckage after you've finished sobbing uncontrollably, and you try to recover any parts that might have survived it. And in all but the most catastrophic crashes, usually you might end up with one of these, a power system. And if you end up with an extra power system, awesome. It softens the blow a little bit, because that means that you can just buy an ARF Plus kit, which is essentially everything in a full kit minus this thing. Let's put this guy together. Now, the F9f-5 is a pretty detailed kit. Comes with flaps, ailerons, a lot of scale details. It's got ordnance with it. And as is the trend with a lot of the newer Freewing models, no gluing required. It's all snapped together, quick release wings, or screwed together. And so other than that, well, I'm a dude, so I don't need this. Let's get this thing together. So right off the bat, we noticed that the CG line is clearly marked on the bottom of the plane, which is going to be awesome later on when we balance this thing. But here's our access panel for the power system. So we're just going to go ahead and pop those couple screws out of there. And then it looks like they put these little finger holes in here for us, because all these parts have a pretty snug fit. And getting panels like this off without annihilating the styrofoam is a challenge. So we're going to fuss with this a little bit. There we go. And we pull that out. And we have an empty, non-power system occupied engine compartment. So we grab our 70 millimeter fan unit with our 80 amp ESC that is reversing. And if you see down in there, there's a nice little neat channel there. So we're going to just feed this servo wire and the battery wire down through that channel into the battery compartment. So we're going to need a fishing line for that. This model comes with a fishing line, which is this guy right here, but it's a little short for my taste. So I use my own handy dandy fishing line. It's a lot longer. I'm just going to take that and feed it through from within the battery compartment. You find that channel, and you should just see the fishing line appear here. So we're just going to grab our servo lead, and while we're at it, let's try to do a twofer. So we're going to just pull our servo lead through like so, and then we're going to push this battery line through right behind it. So the battery line and the servo lead are feeding through. We double check on the other side. There's our servos. And we feed the battery lead through. There we go. So now you can flip her back over. And honestly, in this particular install, that is probably the most difficult part. Now, before we actually secure the motor in there, or the fan unit in there, I should say, we are going to secure the speed controller in the plane. The kit comes with a bracket to do just that. Let's find a home for our speed controller. Put it here facing up so that in case I need to reference what rating is on it, it's there in plain sight. And then as we secure this last screw back in place, we can simply just making sure that we maneuver the wires out of the right way and point the fan unit towards the front of the airplane. We just position the unit in, and then there's 4 screw holes there that you just line up with the screws to put in place. And put our cover screws in place. Like so. Now that the power system is installed, we can get to the quick and easy part of the assembly. So we're going to go right to the tail section because it has the horizontal stabilizer is mounted on the vertical stabilizer. And so they're almost assembled like your normal wings on a plane, where they each have their own servo, of course, but there's also a carbon fiber spar inside of it. So to install these guys, what we're going to need to do is use our fishing line, and there is a channel there that kind of goes diagonally up through the vertical stabilizer, and you see the fishing line kind of appear in that opening right there. And so we're going to take our, gonna see if we can get a twofer again. Here's our left stabilizer, and we're going to just kind of feed the wire for the right stabilizer. Gonna hook it with the fishing line. And then we're going to grab our right stabilizer. And we're going to feed it up through the back side and hook it on the fishing line. And then we're going to attempt to pull both of them through at the same time. Oh, so close, I can feel it. I can feel it. And of course, since I'm pulling that hook through foam, there we go. Got both of those wire or servo leads through the bottom. So now we just simply, now you notice one of the stabilizers has a carbon fiber spar in it. So we're going to feed that spar through the hole in the vertical stabilizer. Down through there, buddy. There we go. Got a little bit of slack wire there. So we're going to pull on the white wire to get that slack out of there. And then the other one kind of lines up with those bolt brackets and that spar. Push the spar in a little bit. There we go. And then we can pull more slack out. There's some. And we pull more of the slack of the white wire out like that. And push in a little bit further. There we go. And then pull the remaining slack out. So now, if we were paying attention, we would know that these two wires are the elevators and this is the rudder. So we're going to go back to our fuselage and our elevators, and you notice that there is a junction box inside the tail section of the fuselage, and we are going to plug our elevator into one of our elevators into the first plug labeled elevator. Our second elevator, which is this longer wire, connects to the second elevator plug. Like so. And then our rudder connects to the rudder plug. And typically when I'm putting these planes together, they're secured by screws, but I won't secure the screws until I'm sure that everything works. So this is kind of push fit together, and I'm going to sit this buddy back down here, and that should just kind of slide in there like that. And the tail section is on the plane. Now the wings have flaps and ailerons on them, but then they're connected by this one universal plug. So I just unplug the left wing from its, pull the left wing plug, insert it into the quick connect on the wing. The wing spar goes into that hole right there, and those blocks line up with the openings on the wing base, and then it just snaps in place. And our quick connect plugs into the connector on the base of the wing. Spar lines up with the hole in the fuselage. You line up the squares, snap it in place. Wing is in. We are cooking with gas now. The wingtip tanks are held on to the wingtips with screws. Kind of just slide there. Proper screw in. Right there. We do the same for this wingtip. And this nose cone has, of course, a couple of magnets to hold the nose cone in place, and a stab down the middle to stabilize, to line it up. Snaps right into place. And I think we can go ahead and put our quick connect ordnance on. Snap into there. Should snap into there. There we go. Then this guy over here. Now, a lot of people choose to maiden their aircraft, their planes without the ordnance. I do it a little bit differently. I prefer to put all the ordnance on my plane, especially for a maiden. So just in case there's some kind of a mishap, I'd rather the plane come down on the ordnance than on the fuselage or the wing. And the last thing to do before we plug in some electronics is to... That guy looks nothing like me. Be right back. That's much more like it. Well, kind of the only thing left to do is